This is why we keep making room for privilege. We keep believing a very specific belief. We believe that the more someone brings to the table, the more they deserve to take home. Because 2,000 years ago, barbarian tribes hammered this idea into Europe. Whenever they conquered new territory, they awarded their top warlord with a crown. They made that guy king. And later on, Europe's Enlightenment thinkers saw something magical in reward systems like this. They said it was the source of all productivity, and we've kept that idea alive and well. I'm about to quote a very influential historian, Benjamin Friedman. He said, Adam Smith, one of those Enlightenment thinkers, established the fundamental basis of what we now call economics. He said, Smith assumed that we only supply other people with goods or services once they give us incentive to do so. True, people have sympathy for one another, but that sympathy is not at work here. And after Adam Smith, our preachers even said this whole thing is the way of God. Here's a quote from Henry Ward Beecher, who was a full-on celebrity after the Civil War. Men who bring less manhood into the market ought to have the lowest wages, and men who bring the most manhood into the market ought, by a celestial edict, to have the highest place, the most honors, and the largest remunerations. God has meant that great shall be great, and little shall be little. No equalizing process will take place till you can make men equal in productive forces. Occasionally, we push back when inequality goes too far. Major strikes and labor resistance have created some disturbances in the system. But inequality itself feels sensible to us. A CEO gets more than a manager who gets more than a cleaner. Higher skill gets more than lower skill. More experience gets more than less experience. But that is all just part of a culture, and it is not the only option. In hunter-gatherer societies, some produce more meat than others. Anthropologists consistently see wide variability with who makes the kills. Good hunters get lots of respect, but that's all they get. They don't get extra meat. Foragers are famous for their sharing, and they can be very inventive in making sure that the accomplishment of a large kill is all but meaningless when it comes to individual control over the meat. The hunter is virtually obliged to relinquish his product and hand it over to the group. And their prestige never turns into real power. Here's a quote from an elder of one of these communities. When a young man kills much meat, he comes to think of himself as a chief or a big man. And he thinks of the rest of us as his servants or inferiors. We can't accept this. That is why we refuse anyone who boasts. When the Kung insult the hunting prowess of a skilled or just fortunate hunter, they are thinking about the possibility that if some stronger individual emerges, he may eventually try to boss others. And there are more complex societies that keep their leaders in check too. Tribesmen have been able to stay egalitarian even when their political units became large. The Yanomamo do not permit anyone to gain much political authority. Even though the Nuer put thousands of warriors into the field, they have nothing that resembles permanent leadership. These chiefs are not entitled to more stuff. A Nambikwara headman constantly shares whatever surplus he may have acquired. Among the Wape, a man will not tolerate a situation where a neighbor has more than he has. Anthropologists observe that this relationship to their chief is unchanging across the entire South American continent. Greed and power are incompatible. To be a chief, it is necessary to be generous. Plus, their position is ultimately powerless. A planner of the group's economic and ceremonial activities, the leader possesses no decision-making power. He is never certain that his orders will be carried out. Europe's barbarian tribes were different. Here's Julius Caesar describing them. There are two classes of people. Most of them are oppressed by debt, by the weight of tribute, or just by the wrongs of the more powerful. They commit themselves to these nobles, who have the same rights over them as masters over slaves. And the echoes of this still shape our world today. Check out this Four Seasons private residence ad. We accept that there will be some jobs entirely committed to serving others. And not like helping where help is needed, but doing whatever random thing has been ordered by someone with more money. We have a special type of people with their own drivers who get to live in the nicest, safest, most convenient surroundings. We have our own nobles who decide how life plays out for all the people around them. We know that some children will take an easier path through life than others, with safety and assurance that the future will always have something for them. We allow opportunity and satisfaction to be bid up in price forever, never actually accessible to most people. We believe that beauty can be kept for the exclusive enjoyment of people living up among the clouds in their own kind of palace. We keep living and working under the assumption that by having more money, a person is naturally entitled to a vastly better life, and that having less money means you should be happy to serve those people, and to feel lucky that the system hasn't stuck you with a much more demeaning, abusive, or dangerous job. So maybe, with all of our incredible accomplishments, we are still just living like the barbarians, where it's always the case that a small handful of people control more resources and have more options, and the vast majority of people have few options and make do with a lot less stuff. This is part of a two-part series, and in the next part, I'm going to be showing why we can have technological progress without having inequality come along for the ride. So if you want to find out when that drops, just follow this account or sign up for the newsletter in my profile. I promise I will not send anything else aside from these reports. Thanks for taking a look. Let me know what you think. I am truly, genuinely curious.